All right, hello, welcome. Welcome to
Hello.
Talking Investing. You got Tom and George.
Smelly. Call me Smelly. Don't call me George.
That I will not do that. Others can do that if they choose to. Hello, everybody. Hello, special hello to some members that I see on the stream. Barry, FE702, Edmund, Crypto Fever, Old Jock, Eric, His Honor, Darren, Nash V, Sourmelon Gaming, Craig, Cosmic Contrarian, Ryan. If I missed anybody, hello to everybody. Those are the members. Hello to the members. Hello to all the subscribers. Hello to everybody. And the week is over. This was not the greatest end to the week, but I do think this was a good week. This was the end to the week for the Bitcoin miners. This was the end of the month, but we got a little bit left for Bitcoin before we are officially at the end of the month. So let's...
Bitcoin. Is that what we do here? We talk about Bitcoin?
Sometimes.
Hmm.
Here's what
I'm
Bitcoin's
confused.
doing on the 15-minute time frame. So I just pulled up the chart, and you'll also see the Bitcoin miners on the side here, and they're all, well, they're not all, but virtually all red today. But no big deal. Nothing down catastrophic. This was a green week, and I do believe, as I put the numbers together tonight and put a video out for tomorrow, this ends our 10 weeks of misery. Now, is this a 1-week reprieve, or do we move into October for better times ahead? So I do have a poll up that's not related to that at the moment, and we'll get a poll going on that and see what you guys think. So let me switch screens here and take a look at what's going on with the existing poll. Will the U.S. government shut down this weekend? That is the current poll that I have up. If you have not voted, please vote. If you have not, smash the like button. Wait a second, I'm pressing the wrong button myself. If you could do us a favor, please smash the like button. I see a bunch of people here, but only 14 likes at the moment. It helps the stream out a lot. You guys have been unbelievably helpful and in smashing the like button during the streams and on the videos, and it's made a huge difference for the channel lately. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, much appreciated. And so feel free, smash the like button. Feel free, if you're not subscribed to the channel and you enjoy this content and you enjoy listening to George and myself and the deep dive videos that we do, you can subscribe to the channel. We talk about Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners for the most part. That is the majority of what we talk about. We do talk about some other things. And then in our members only area, we talk about a bunch more than that. But we'll talk about that later. For now, let's get back to Bitcoin. What's going on? Thank you. I see a bunch of you guys just hit the like button. Much appreciated. Oh, we were going to check out what's going on with the poll. Let me take a look here. We're tweaking the way we do things, so you should notice a little bit of a different look for our live streams. But however,
We're getting fancy.
I'm already confused for whatever reason with this technology to begin with, and I comprehend that it's fairly straightforward technology, but for whatever reason, I continue to have minor struggles. Let's just put it that way. Will the U.S. government shut down this weekend? So far, right now, yes, 59%, no, 41%. For those of you who don't know,
I think it has to shut down this weekend because there's no way not to stop it, Tom.
Well, let me bring up an article. I think
here we go.
There's a way. It does seem unlikely right now. But, however...
So you're saying there's a chance.
You're saying there's a chance.
Dumb and Dumber strikes again.
Okay, so this is a live update from the Washington Post. This says 12 minutes ago. I opened this screen more than 12 minutes ago. I wonder if I refresh that. I guess this is updating in real time. House fails to pass a short-term funding bill as shutdown looms. So the government will shut down Sunday at 12:01 a.m. So essentially, that is the end of the day, Saturday here in the U.S. Eastern Time. If they don't come up with a deal tomorrow, then this thing's shutting down. That's what's going on.
What deal can they do? No one's even in. Is it there?
They're there, but they can't. So this says the Republican-led House failed Friday to approve a 30-day stopgap funding bill as the government shutdown looms. All the Democrats and 21 of the Republicans voted against the measure, which would have cut most domestic programs by 30%. It's unclear what the House makers will do next.
I'm going to tell you something. This is interesting. I have a real reason of why it's happening. And you know what? I can't say.
Oh, I don't have my George button right now. We're going through.
I can't say, but I mean, I really think it's true. With Gary Gensler, when he went and talked in front of Congress, what was that, Tuesday?
Yes.
Yeah. If you go and listen to that, you can get the answer.
Oh boy. You're gonna make people guess. We got members only chat here from Sour Melon Gaming, who has been a member for 7 months. Thank you very much, Sour Melon Gaming. Gary Gensler goes ahead and immediately denies another Bitcoin ETF after he's threatened subpoenaed by the U.S. Congress for that exact reason. I'm going to go through that. I have a bunch of info relating to that because I think that's hugely important. I think we're much closer to a Bitcoin ETF than I realized. So I'm a little bit leaning that that's going to be sooner than later.
Well, I guess I can talk about this. Who's now the biggest person that controls Bitcoin? What company?
I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends how you measure that.
How about this? Who has the most market share into Bitcoin miners?
Well,
as far as dollars and cents.
I'm sure it's one of two companies.
Yep.
And those two are probably 1 and 2 in I don't know what order. Yeah. I'm guessing you're talking about BlackRock and Vanguard, which seem to pretty much the for those who don't know, and probably most of you do, if you pick a random stock, there's a pretty good chance that BlackRock and Vanguard are going to be the largest and second largest shareholder. The majority of the time, if you select a random stock, it's pretty amazing. Where that doesn't hold true is in the very small dollar things. It could be more hit or miss, but anything with any amount of size or market cap, they tend to be. So Eric said it, BlackRock. Crypto Rich said BlackRock or Fidelity. Edmund said BlackRock. Cosmic Contrarian, BlackRock, and Fidelity. So these are the big names.
Isn't Vanguard and BlackRock pretty much the same?
I don't know the answer to that. Crypto Fever has a question, and I think you've answered it, George. Crypto Fever said, George, is there any way you can not talk in riddles today?
No, I'll tell you because no, I can't. I'm not. I know what it is, and it's like one of those things that you guys would be like, oh, I don't believe you. So that's why I'm not even going to say it.
Is this the moon?
The moon. Yes, the moon.
Is it the moon?
It is not the moon, by the way, but don't forget, it is a full moon coming up. So I don't know what that really means.
Eric said, geez, just imagine when the ETF is announced. Boom. Ryan said, I'm still waiting for Tom's follow-up apology video to Iris. I feel I have nothing to apologize for. I think I did a very balanced video on Iris. I did give my personal opinion on it, but if you watch that video, I don't think there's anything in that video that you can say is not factually accurate. I do give my opinion, which you might disagree with, and that is fair. And I do, I said a lot of good stuff about Iris, but I also, to sum up kind of the Cliff's Notes, so we don't have to revisit this. Iris, when they were at about a $250 million market cap, put out a $500 million shelf offering. But beyond that, on their earnings call that same day, they rolled out a plan, a $626 million plan, including spending 100% of that $500 million shelf offering to expand their business. Now, if they do that at the right pace and they're careful, and then, maybe that will all work out just fine, and maybe it'll work out great for them. But in the short term, I just thought, and, it's hard to know. My guess was in the short term they were going to go down a lot. Now, everything went down a lot in the short term. So, while I was correct, was it because of that, or was it just because everything got, all the Bitcoin miners got crushed? Like, right from that day forward, the Bitcoin miners got beat up badly. Iris did do a little worse than average, but not, they weren't a huge outlier. So everything got beat up, including Iris. So for that reason, that might have been the perfect time to make that announcement. If everything's going to get beat up anyway, you might as well make an announcement like that. So maybe it all worked out for them. But I do think that it's on the spectrum of risk. They increased their risk. Yes, we all knew they held, the potential for another, I think, 500, total of 600 megawatts, and that ultimately it was their plan to build all that out. But, spelling out that here's our plan, and, it's going to take $626 million, and it's right away, I thought was a little risky, if you will.
Oh, this just in. His name, Ben Armstrong. Do not call him BitBoy.
Huh?
His name is Ben Armstrong. Do not call him BitBoy. Sorry.
Why? Did you just Eric, say that on the internet?
That's what it says on his Twitter feed.
Oh,
I was looking because
he's no longer.
So he's like, I'm going
himself.
BitBoy, right? So he's like, I'm going 30 days with no social media, right? This was 2 days ago, and I was just looking at it because it's like a car wreck. You can't look away. You know what I mean? You're like,
yeah,
man, that looks terrible. So then he goes, and then he says something yesterday, and then he says something an hour ago. He goes, I'm selling my Rolex. I'm selling my charger. DM me if you're interested in buying. I'm just like, dude, are you really that hard up?
Yeah, I know. A lot of people ridiculed him for that. That didn't feel like an appropriate response to the situation. I don't know what's going on there. I've paid very little attention to it, but something's not
Jail
quite
boy.
right, it would seem.
I don't even think that he went to jail. I think that was all staged, 100% staged. Because I live in the same county as he does. Well, I used to live in the same county. It's like 1 county over, 2 counties over now. I mean, but you see people like BitBoys in that county, you gotta leave. Sorry.
It was time to move to the next county.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Right. I'm Bitcoin. It's just sad. It's just, I mean, wow.
By the way,
big news on Ripple, by the way.
Sorry, George, to interrupt. I'm just doing my. It's time for my hit the like button pitch. It helps the live stream a lot, and you guys have been. We shoot for 100 likes on the live stream. The sooner we get them, the better the live stream is. The better the live stream is, the more live streams we can do. Also, we just appreciate it. I know I personally do. So if you're able to,
no, I
like
do.
button.
I appreciate it more.
George appreciates
it. So what in the world is Ripple doing? Yeah, what in the world is Ripple doing with some New York City event this weekend?
Yeah, you tell us.
Did you hear about this or no?
I don't
know. Are they going public? Reveals that the initial IPO settlement scaring the first U.S. Wow. See, now if the bank, if they are not approved, they would not be able to go do an IPO if the government shuts down. By the way, did you know that?
It would delay, but I will.
Yeah.
We'll talk more about the government shutdown. In my opinion, I think these government shutdowns are very gimmicky. They usually don't last for very long. And so a lot of that stuff is true. You know, Gary Gensler didn't miss his opportunity to say, oh, well, you know, if the government shuts down, well, then, you know, it's going to be even longer before I can approve a Bitcoin ETF.
Yeah,
But
yeah. He's one day down. That's like 2 years.
yeah,
Every day that's 2 years at least.
he's multiple years and multiple rejections into this. At this point, Gary Gensler is, in my opinion, it's over. It's over. He can be stubborn for some short period of time, but I will put it this way. And a lot of you guys probably saw this, and I'll bring up some information. Let me switch. Can I switch gears for a minute to that? Let's talk.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's talk about that for a minute. I want to go to a couple of things. Okay, so U.S. lawmakers call on SEC chair to approve a spot Bitcoin ETF immediately. The members of the House Financial Services Committee are expected to question Gary Gensler during a September 27th hearing on the SEC. So that actually happened. They wrote a letter. I want to show you that letter. It's only 1 page long and a signature page. But they grilled Gensler for hours and hours, and they basically got to the point where they said, you know, this has never been done before, but you're going to force us to subpoena you at this point. What you're doing is not right. I'm going to add to that. So that's the House. And let me just quickly show you. This is the actual letter. This is from Congress. Congress of the United States. September 26. Dear Chair Gensler, we write to ensure the Securities and Exchange Commission does not continue to discriminate against spot Bitcoin exchange-traded products. The SEC is responsible for making certain the product. I'm not going to read this whole thing, FYI. So if you're losing patience, making certain that products that comply with investor protection standards are made available to investors. This position was affirmed 3-0 by the United States Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia last month in Grayscale LLC versus the SEC. So this is now, you've got a letter from Congress. That is one branch of the U.S. government. You've got a Circuit of Appeals court in a 3-0 decision saying, let me find the exact quote. The appeals court said the SEC decision to reject Grayscale's Bitcoin ETF application was, quote, arbitrary and capricious. You have 2 of the 3 branches of government now saying this is baseless. The amount of pressure that is mounting right now, at this point, if I had to bet on, you know, who's going to win, a Bitcoin ETF or Gary Gensler keeping his job, that's what it's coming to at this point.
I don't think he cares. Do you think this is theater, my friend? I hope everybody knows this. This is all theater. Meaning, we're watching a movie unfold in front of our eyes with Bitcoin. I hate to say it, but that's what's going on.
You know, there's market manipulation.
Yeah, Tom stumped. He's like, you're going there?
No, it's... My point is, it may well be theater, but I think it's gone on about as long as it can go on. The mountain of forces at this point that are looking at the SEC going, what are you doing? And at some point...
Hang on a second. Hang on. I got one for you. Hang on. Let's see, October, November. I can't say that. I was going to say I think we're 90 days away from a spot Bitcoin ETF. But I don't think it is 90 days. I think it's probably closer to... I don't think we'll go 180 days without one from now.
Without a Bitcoin ETF?
Not financial advice, but I don't see us getting out of that first quarter because we need it. Here's the deal. At what point in time does, you know, BlackRock say, hey, we need to get some recoups on this investment? And I think that they're okay letting it wash out for the end of this year. But I think that, you know, after the first quarter, I think sometime in the first quarter of next year, they got to really look at it, because everybody knows that's a catalyst for Bitcoin. And that would be a catalyst for these miners too. These Bitcoin miners, I think they would just skyrocket.
It's big money,
10%
especially
is
the
a
big.
skyrocket. Not financial advice. Go ahead.
Even if the Bitcoin miners skyrocket, which I think would be good for, I know myself and probably a lot of people that are watching this, the big money is in Bitcoin itself and, the crypto universe, but approximately 50% of which is Bitcoin. Let's look at what that number is right now.
As Tom does that, Edmund, to answer your question, I don't believe there is an anti-BTC out there, by the way. I believe it's all fake. I think they did it to the whole ESG. Everything was done so they could get their positions into the Bitcoin miners and into cryptocurrency, because it is the future, and the future's so bright, I have to wear shades. Sorry.
That's the definition of FUD. So you're saying that this was a campaign to suppress the price of Bitcoin for a period of time.
Yes.
So none of this financial advice. George and I are expressing our opinions, but
right, and I think that October is going to be a really interesting month. I think October, it could shake out to be the most interesting month in like 20 years, Tom. It could be. I'm not saying it is. I'm just so you guys, I'm not saying it is, but it could be a real interesting month in October.
What you got specific things that you think are going to happen? You think
I'm just saying that you guys, sorry, this is a good plug for us. Tuesday, we talk a lot more freely and openly about this stuff, and I do not hold back. So
Tuesday is our members-only live stream for those of you who don't know what George is talking about. So I'll let everybody know. We do have a member. If you're interested in becoming a member and supporting the channel, we appreciate it. It's only $5 a month. You can hit the join button on the YouTube page, which is right next to the subscribe button. And we have a members-only live stream once a week. We also have a members-only Discord, which has been extremely active recently, and we do talk about a lot more stuff, so we'll be glad to have you join us there. If you want, it's only $5.
J. I mean Dr. J. I'm sorry, I always say Dr. J to Mr. J. Thank you, sir. Wesley, welcome.
Yes, thank you,
so
Mr. J.
I got one. So let's think of who really pushed the narrative of ESG and how bad Bitcoin miners were for the environment. That was really BlackRock. I think Larry Fink really came out hard in the beginning. This was 2 years ago now.
I would say
right?
BlackRock led the charge.
You're right. They led the charge.
It's hard.
Right,
I can't imagine somebody arguing. I mean, maybe.
Okay.
I can't imagine.
Okay. But listen to this. Now think about this for a second. BlackRock, we know, has trillions of dollars, right?
Yes.
Yes. So whether they have trillion, they manage trillions. So if that's the case, they can easily put that narrative out and say, okay, you 150 people in financial industry, we need you. This is your focus. This is your lead. And then here you go. I mean, and it's worked. I mean, look at the Bitcoin miner price. I mean, it's amazing to see EVs, because you can see EVs getting ready to be taken out. I don't know if anybody else feels that, but you can see EVs getting ready to be taken out. Does anybody agree with that one statement? I don't know, but it just seems like they've been taken out, and that they're gonna, but their market cap's so much bigger than Bitcoin miners.
There's multiple EV companies who have double or triple the market cap of all the Bitcoin miners added up, put together, and those companies, they don't lose millions, they lose billions and billions of dollars a year. There is one gigantic exception. Everybody knows who that is, but other than that, right now, most of the EV companies and everything EV adjacent, has been destroyed on par with the Bitcoin miners or worse, and a lot of them are already out of business. I have 4 on my watch list that are out of business. I don't think I have a single Bitcoin miner that's gone out of business yet. Well, Core Scientific did go into Chapter 11.
I want to challenge Barry. I want to challenge Elon Musk to a fight. I don't care. I
That's not
actually think
happening.
that think where we would be if Elon Musk didn't do what he's done. You know what I mean? It's just insane. Elon Musk. I mean, I don't know what his end game is. Obviously, no one does. But I mean, he was down at the border yesterday. I don't know if you saw that on Twitter, just talking about what a problem this is. Sorry, I don't want to digress. I want to stay on investing. But so my whole thing is, if you look at EVs, and there's really two values that are really left to be taken out. Tom, wouldn't you say it's the blue chip stocks are a huge percentage, a disproportionate amount of money is in blue chip stocks at this point in time, correct?
In the market overall,
Yes.
I mean, yeah, you've got 8 or 10 companies that are an outsized portion of the entire investment world. The top 10 is, and this is not necessarily exactly today, but over the last year and a half, the top 10 companies have just grown to monstrous, monstrous numbers.
Yeah, and so when does that take off? I was in a meeting the other day. Yes, I know it's hard to believe. I was in a meeting. And in that meeting, we talked about house insurance because I'm really interested in that because that's what my business does. And they said it's destroyed. I don't know if you've looked at the numbers of State Farm and I mean, State Farm's been a solid company for years. And they're destroyed. And I mean, and they've gone a certain avenue. I think they call it woke, unfortunately. And I think the statement is go woke, go broke. And you see what's happened, and it's just like their claims division is losing them a ton of money. And we used to have somebody on from State Farm, remember? I don't remember who was that, Tom. Did he leave us?
He was never from State Farm. I don't know why you continuously say. I think that
Who
individual.
was that? Dude, oh my God,
They
he was
have
like our
changed their
biggest
name
fan.
several times, so I don't want to. If maybe perhaps they want anonymity, but they were just on a stream within the last week.
Okay.
But they were not.
Okay.
I think they had State Farm as their insurance, which they mentioned in one stream like a year ago, and you got them as like the CEO of State Farm. So,
but you look at State Farm, and State Farm rates everybody right now. And when they stop writing,
Mr. J, was
insurance,
it Jake? Yes.
Was it Jake? It was Jake from State Farm. But you just look at that and you wonder which industry is on eggshells and it's going to crack next. Sorry. I don't have very good hopes for the stock market at this point in time. I have very good hopes for Bitcoin. Not maybe for the next, 90 days, but I think the next 30 days could be real interesting for Bitcoin. I expect a pump. I expect a humongous pump, and I'll let you take it, Tom. Sorry.
I'm just reading the chat. Crypto Fevers is maybe I'm not aware. Ryan's a member, and it says, "Are you trolling the chat because you're still mad at Tom?" I didn't know Ryan was mad at me. What?
I'm mad at hey Ryan. If it helps you any, I'm mad at Tom too.
What did I do this time?
I am so mad at Tom, it's not even funny.
Oh, Ryan said no. I was and never would be upset at Tom.
There you go. See, Craig just said it. Homeowners insurance is being canceled left and right.
Now I think Ryan is mad at me because now he said Tom is my role model.
I did just wake up from a big nap. I wish. So I was supposed to be on the stream yesterday, but I took a nap instead. Sorry, guys. I said, Tom, I'll be on in 5 minutes.
We were all set up, and then I didn't say anything. So.
Oh, you didn't?
Yeah, you were.
I've been on a crazy diet, guys, and I've been like working out like a machine. So.
All right, Ryan's saying I wasn't.
Here's what
so
I mean.
Take you at your word, Ryan, and I appreciate you being a member either way. So, and everybody's entitled to their opinion. So, people.
So,
also...
Tom, I have a question. I have
ahead.
a question real quick regarding Bitcoin. Here's what I mean by sideways with Bitcoin. If Bitcoin, because it's at 27,000, I don't think it's going to break out much above $30,000 by the end of the year. And I still consider that sideways, just so you guys know.
I would consider anything under 31,800 was our
Yeah.
July high. If we can't break out of that, then we're inside of a range. That's what we
Right.
need to break out. And there's a bunch of steps along the way that we need to break out, in order to get some upward momentum. And we're just about at one right now, which I will go to the chart and take a look at. It's that white line. This white line on the 15-minute doesn't really seem very meaningful, but I'm going to zoom out and show you what that looks like on the 1 day, because we've had, well, let me get to it. So we've had a very strong descending line of resistance. This dates all the way back to the peak, which was on July 12th. So this is the day we were at 31,862. That is the high for 2023. So to George's point, if we can't break outside of that, then we are trading inside of a range. So we've had a descending line of resistance. We bumped into it in August. We bumped into it again in the middle of September. Yesterday, we actually closed the daily candle above this. And now today, let's see what happens. We're heading back down. It's very, very, if I zoom in, at the moment, we're still above this line, but this could still easily be a fake out, right? This is not a confirmed breakout above this. So the things that I've been saying were, we need to break out above this line. That's one piece of the puzzle. We also need to take out, and this line is a little bit high for some reason, but somewhere in the 28,200-ish range, we got up to on August 29th. So those were the two things that I think would signal a breakout and a shot at maybe getting back to the top of this range. That's not even to get outside of this range. Those were the two things I've been saying. If we can do 1 and 2, maybe we can get back up to that 31,800, and that doesn't mean back up in a straight line and, over a weekend, but over the course of, 4 to 6 weeks, maybe we could have a nice run back up and test our highs. But I think we got to do these two things first, and you can see we're on the brink. This daily candle, this is so close that this is not confirmation of step 1 yet. It's a step in the right direction, but there's nothing definitive about this. But I like the fact that we did close above this, and we might even hold above it on this day here. We'll see what happens over the weekend, which is usually a little bit lower volume. So some of the things are starting to head our way. We'll see. I drew a scribbly line a few days ago, and just by luck, we're semi-close to this. So I did this here, and we did take this up, and now we're going a little bit down. So I don't know. My point was, if we can get above this 50, maybe this is on the daily RSI, retest 50, and then maybe take our run up. And I made it in a straight line, but that's never the way. That's typically not the way it goes. But so a lot of things look like they're on the brink of maybe some good news. The other thing is we got one more day left in this month of September that everybody does not like. It's just a thing in Bitcoin. September, for Bitcoin people, September's bad, October's good. So, September wasn't that bad. It looks likely this, whatever color line you want to call it here, this aqua green line, this is where we opened the month. So that was at 25,931. We got 1 day left in this month. At the moment, we're about 3.5% above that. So, unless we have a really big down day tomorrow, which could happen, we could end up green this month. If you hold Bitcoin miners, somebody on the last stream said, who cares if we're green in the month of September? The Bitcoin miners got pretty beat up, which is true. But if this positions us to have a nice October, then, maybe we can get things rolling here. And this is the chart that a lot of people look at, and you'll see October in this regard, 8 of the last 10 Octobers have been green. 1, 2, 3, 4 in a row have been green. And really, 5, 6, 7 out of the last 8 years have been green in October. So average of 23%. So maybe we have a good October. Now, November and December, the last 2 years in a row, were not very good at all. November of 2021, that was our peak, and then it was straight down from there. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, there is optimism. This chart probably shouldn't mean anything, but, you know, sometimes just on themselves, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. There's a lot of optimism around October typically with Bitcoin. So that doesn't mean everything, but I do think it means something. And that's all I have to say about that.
That's really interesting, though. I think that gives me the most hope of anything, Tom.
That chart right there?
Yes. Historical monthly returns on Bitcoin.
A lot of people put stock in that, and you know, a lot of people follow that chart. And there's nothing wrong with, I think the sentiment definitely hit a low in September. You know, our polling here personally showed that. And so with that said, let's do a poll. But first, it looks like Craig.
At least write something, man. $5. Thank you, sir. You're a good man.
Much appreciated. Thanks for the super chat. Yeah, and obviously anybody, if you want, you can write us a message in there, and we'll get right to your super chats. I'm going to end this current poll. Will the U.S. government shut down? So this kind of stayed the same the whole time. We're over 100 votes right now. 60-40. Majority thinks we're going to shut down, but 40% of the people think they'll pull something out here. They got just a little over 24 hours to agree on something. Doesn't seem like these people can agree on anything lately, but we'll see.
Well, I mean, the whole thing with Gary Gensler is kind of, they laugh at Congress. You know what I mean? And I mean, I think that's the interesting thing. I won't say what I want to say. Ugh, I gotta stop. But I'll say it on Tuesday.
Eric saying, here's a question. Why have the miners detached from the Bitcoin price? I do think that in the month of September, because Bitcoin, like you can see, was pretty sideways, and we stand a chance of it being up, you know, a couple percent, whereas the Bitcoin miners had a rough month. I think with the Bitcoin sideways activity and the exhaustion in that sideways activity, the market was down, and the NASDAQ was down, you know, and it seems like the Bitcoin miners followed that more closely over the month of September than they did Bitcoin. And this happens a lot. Sometimes Bitcoin seems to be the dictating factor, especially if Bitcoin does something that breaks out and shows that there's going to be movement. But all Bitcoin has done for a long time is convince people that we're going sideways indefinitely here. And as a leveraged play on Bitcoin, and whereas Bitcoin does not have a clock on it, for some of these Bitcoin miners, the halving a little bit represents a clock. So as we get closer and closer, we're still 7 months away, but it's getting a lot closer. So a lot of people, I think, are panicking out and saying, you know what, maybe I'll take a less risky position. Bitcoin seems to be hanging in there, but, you know, the Bitcoin miners are running out of time. So I think some people are moving out of the Bitcoin miners into either Bitcoin. We did a live stream on MicroStrategy. I think some people are moving into that. You've got the Grayscale Bitcoin ETF, or sorry, the Bitcoin Grayscale Trust, Bitcoin Trust. So you've got other ways to play this. Temporarily, I think some people have left. I do think, though, for every time there's an exodus like that, the flip side of that is you're going to get people to FOMO back in the minute things start moving in the right direction, in my opinion. And I do think that's going to happen. And I think there's a chance it could happen in October. And I'm not calling for Bitcoin all-time highs, but momentum is momentum. You know, if Bitcoin can break out of this short-term range, take a run back up to the top of even this, you know, 5 or 6 month trading range that we've been in, then I think, you know, that could be good things for the Bitcoin miners. JML, thank you very much for the super chat, the super chat, and shout out to you, Tom. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. That is JML. Admin said, Iris is still my #1 conviction stock. And Crypto Fever saying not everyone's built for the volatility that comes with the miners. I mean, there's volatility that comes along with cryptocurrency, and this is a leverage play, so it is even more volatile. So it's tough. It's definitely tough. Eric is saying Wolf down 40%, Bitcoin down 1.5% in a month. Yikes. I mean, yeah, that is awful. And it's hard to make up that ground. You know, that type of discrepancy in 1 month. Having said that, these swings are wild with the Bitcoin miners. We've seen a 6-week period where the Bitcoin miners on the average were up 400%. So that would more than make up for that. Now, we got to have a nice run for that to happen. Bitcoin's got to do its thing at least a little bit.
Yeah, it's woof, $1.26. Woof, woof.
I have been saying for a long time, TerraWolf is not a high conviction play for me. I am worried about TerraWolf, and I mean, it is strictly a function of their debt. One of the things that used to make me feel better about their debt, if you look at their monthly operational reports, 9 or 10 months ago, their cost per coin was extremely low. But that cost has gone up considerably, disproportionately versus the other Bitcoin miners. And I think that has to do with their mix of where their growth has been. So I think these new numbers are more realistic. They may have spiked a little bit over the summer and they're going to get a little better, but they're never going to be what, at one point they were reporting like $6,500 cost per coin. And that wasn't something that was sustainable going forward. It looks like they're more in the $10,000, $11,000, $12,000, which is actually still good. It's just not outstanding. And then you put $100 million of debt on the other side of that, and I get a little nervous about it. So that's my personal opinion, not financial advice, but that's why I have steered clear of Wolf. I think it's a little higher risk for that reason. And these are already very high-risk plays to begin with.
But I'm thinking about selling options next week on my CleanSpark.
Selling calls or puts?
Calls, yeah, puts. What do you do? I don't know. When you have the shares.
If you have the shares, and you can sell calls for the shares that you own, and, kind of collect revenue, if you want to sell them monthly, you can collect revenue monthly. The risk in that is it's more of an opportunity cost risk. If you do that, you lock in some profits, but if that's the moment where, things, Bitcoin takes its gigantic run, then maybe you miss that run because you kind of cap yourself at wherever you sold that. Now, for the last 2+ years, that strategy would have been a good strategy. So, fear of missing out on potential upside, you'd have been better off just selling your calls every month.
Look at how cheap they are. Wow. I mean, so like $5. Craig, you need to talk to somebody about the options at CleanSpark.
They need to open up anything about the options.
He needs to talk to someone. Maybe he knows somebody.
That's not how.
Is that decided by the CEO or no?
Not at all. The market makers.
Who decides it? Come on, market makers. That's crazy. I mean, you got $2.50, $5, $7.50, $10. That's crazy. It's insane. Oh, Edmund, you said something about XRP. I don't know. We got almost a 5.5% push today. That was good to see.
XRP was up today?
Yeah, 5.5%. I think it's because of the little.
Look at the big board on cryptocurrency and see what's what.
Yeah, let's do it.
We got, looks like XRP is leading the way. XRP, Solana, and Tron at number 11 had a very big day.
That one scares me.
This was a green day. I mean, you got your stable coins, obviously, that don't do anything. But even BNB was up. Ethereum was up 4.85% today. I didn't even notice. XRP,
Man,
4.5.
XRP is taking the lead today. That's
But look
nice
what's
to
funny.
finally
That
see.
the top 10 did very well, but the next 10. Well, make sure I'm looking at the right column. 24 hours. Well, I think I'm looking at the wrong column. I might have to take back everything I just said. Yeah, XRP's up 5.4% today. Well, that's why I didn't notice Ethereum up 4.8% today, because it wasn't. That's my mistake, everybody. Ethereum was up 0.68% today. So a lot of stuff was flat today. And George, you're right. XRP was the big outlier on the day. And Solana had a good day, up 2.8%. Tron had a good day, up 3.58%. Most of the other stuff, no big movers in the top 20.
I also want everybody to know, I still think there's going to be a big pullback. I think that we're going to have a decent October, but I don't think we're out of the woods yet.
So are you going to...
I'm not giving up.
Just going to ride it out?
I think until the end of 25, well, the end of, let's see, so next year's 24, so we got the election, so that's all, like, the whole year's just messed up. Probably, I'll be very happy sometime the end after the election. I think that's when things will really shake out for Bitcoin in the United States. November of 24.
So you think that's when we're going to get, starting then we'll get a push up?
Yeah, I think it's just going to be interesting. Because here's the problem with BlackRock. Everybody thinks with that EFT, ETF, whatever it's called, you know it ain't going to do what everybody thinks it's going to do. If everybody thinks it's going to go skyrocket, it ain't going to happen. I think they're going to have to get their pound of flesh before it takes off.
Well, in the short term, you're right. It's still, the crypto universe is still small, and Bitcoin is still, about a $500 billion asset, which is, that sounds like a lot of money, because it is a lot of money. But in terms of the financial markets, it's very, very small. There's, wouldn't even be, well, it might make the top 10 companies. So there's many companies that are bigger than that. There's companies that are 5 times bigger than that, to put it in perspective. Just individual companies, and specifically Apple and Microsoft. So, it will be, there is the potential for some manipulation in the short term. Everybody expecting it to go ballistic the day of something like that. Maybe they could fake us out for a little while, but that supply-demand equation is going to have to play itself out at some point. The supply of Bitcoin is extremely small. Forget the fact that there's only 21 million of them when we're done.
I have crypto. I disagree. I think it was the summer of hell for Bitcoin and crypto. I think it's uncertain. It's no, like, legislation has happened. Nothing has, and there's been nothing to change since we started this channel, which is going on 3 years' time.
Yeah, we're over 2.5 years coming up. Yep.
Yeah, nothing has changed in crypto. Nothing has, like, become validified in.
We've got no
in the United
regulations.
States.
They have not approved a Bitcoin ETF. So some of the big catalysts haven't happened yet.
And with the big exchanges, I mean, think about it. We've lost exchanges. We're still in a holding pattern with not knowing if we're doing anything illegal or not. I mean, right? Honestly, I know it's crazy to think that.
Well,
but it's true.
The public isn't doing anything illegal. They're
holding Bitcoin or holding. You didn't hear these conversations? Well, no. That holding Bitcoin, I think it was Elizabeth Warren said something to the effect of having crypto and currencies and not reporting income is a felony. But so,
Well,
but she was.
but if your money's on exchange, they're they're reporting the profitability if you sell, and that's the only time. It would be nice for them to clarify all that, but I don't think the general population has to have any worry that they're not complying. It would be the exchanges, and Elizabeth Warren says a lot of things. That's I guess
I will tell
that's
you that I
where
can't believe
all I would
Bitcoin
say
didn't.
about that.
I can't believe Bitcoin didn't go down more. By the way, and I think one of the reasons why is because of Michael Saylor. Personally,
Eric, to your point, Eric just says Saylor and MicroStrategy Bitcoin break even at 29K, and he's a clever guy. Most would be underwater by now. And he continues to buy in. He just bought 5,000. Yeah. Well, him and MicroStrategy just bought, I think it was 5,445 Bitcoin from August 1st through September 24th is the statement that they filed with the SEC. They bought almost, I think, $147 million worth of Bitcoin. Crypto Fever said George Summer of Hell would have been 15K, 10K, 3K. What I will say is, on the Summer of Hell debate, it was a 10-week. We had 10 full weeks, 10 weekend reports where the Bitcoin miners were pretty solidly red for 10 weeks in a row in the summer. Bitcoin itself, certainly, there was no crash on Bitcoin, but the Bitcoin miners had 10. This week, the majority will be green, but that's going to break a 10-week streak. This has been exhausting for a lot of the people I know that follow this channel and, subscribers, and I know the members. This has been a tough run.
seems like it's been the Summer of Hell.
And now summer's over. This is the first. Technically, it's not summer anymore. So let's see if we get some movement in the right direction.
Thanks for clarifying that, Edmund. So this was to you, Tom. So we're scratch out George from Edmund. The wolf cost per coin has been 9,445 average for the last 4 months. This is still very low.
I'll pull up their reports. I mean, they've been inching up. I want to double check that number. If that is true, it's because of 4 months ago and 3 months ago, because their number keeps going up and up and up. So when I see a 10 or 12 month trend where the number just keeps going up, it makes me nervous. So yes, if they settle in around $9,500, then they're going to be one of the lowest cost per coins out of all the Bitcoin miners, and that would be something very bullish for them. If they settle in at 11 or 12,000, then that would make me a little more nervous given the lack of strength in their balance sheet and the amount of debt that they have. So we'll keep our eye on that, Edmund. I mean, let's see how it trends. Let's see if they can continue that for the rest of the year. But that is the key. That is the key for them. That's their selling point. If they can show that they have a lower cost per coin than everybody else, then that would be the thing that differentiates them, because they have some other things, most specifically the amount of debt they have, that negatively differentiates them. So, they need that positive in the other direction. And Eric's saying at this point, Wolf seems the greatest value even with the debt. So this is why all opinions are welcome. And, only time will tell. Nobody's right or wrong at this point. We all have to do. And that's why I always say it's not financial advice. You got to do your own due diligence. We're all going to come up with some different conclusions. And, we don't know who's going to get to the finish line. So all we can do is I try to present the information as I do deep dives on these companies. And then, yes, I will give my opinion, but most of my videos I focus around just presenting what's going on, what the information is. Ultimately in the end, if you're not afraid of the debt, that's each individual person's risk tolerance. Edmund, I figured that. He said, oops, that wolf comment should have been directed to Tom. I figured that was to me because I was the one talking about their cost. Ironhead, these last 10 weeks has been more painful than my ex-wife. I don't know your ex-wife. I have no comment. Chuck says, agreed, Wolf. So a lot of people like Wolf. Admin said, Eric, agree. I like Wolf. Under $1.30, probably would add more. And Eric saying, doesn't Wolf have a combo nuclear hydro? So they do have some nuclear. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff about them. But I will say that's a smaller. They have some joint ventures. Some of the things are smaller parts. The smaller, more cost-efficient parts of their puzzle are the things that came online first, which is why their average cost keeps going up. So Edmund put them in here. May, $6,251. See, when you look at May and go $6,251, that seems like they are destroying the competition. But then in June, it's $9,300. In July, it's $11,900. So that really peaked. It is encouraging to see that in August, they went back down to $10,200. So that's $1,700 less per coin in August than July. So, I'll give you that, Edmund. If they've turned the corner and they're headed back down to 8,000 or 9,000, that would definitely be a good thing for them.
Did they say why their costs have gone up, Tom?
A part of it is just their energy mix. You can see from, the stuff that's come online, they're never going to get back down to that $6,000 number again. That was just a function of there's a change in their energy mix. But also, I think Edmund has mentioned before, in July and August, those are tough months. And so the cost of energy just was up and their cost per coin was up. So we'll see where it settles in. That's going to be crucial for them. Where does that cost settle in? Obviously, the other factor is the difficulty level just keeps rising and rising and rising. So, that makes it hard to keep these costs down. And I would say, as a compliment to all the Bitcoin miners, it's amazing how much these miners have improved their operations to stay competitive on that cost. Because technically, in the last 14 months, the network difficulty levels more than doubled, which means, all things being equal, their cost per coin should have doubled, but it didn't. So, effectively, that was a halving a year before the halving. Now we're about to have another halving. So, it's pretty tough to be a Bitcoin miner. With that said, you can see companies like Wolf are still, they're at, let's say they're at $10,000. So, if everything held at the halving, if that turned into $20,000, they could still make money at Bitcoin $30,000. Right? And Bitcoin 30,000 at the halving, I think, is a very conservative estimate. What if it's 40,000? Then their profit margin even after the halving could potentially be 40 or 50%. So a lot of these companies are in that type of a position where I know I have seen a lot of very big YouTubers say, if Bitcoin's under 60 or under 55,000. I saw one yesterday say, remember, if Bitcoin's under 55,000, half of these companies are going out of business. And, I don't know what to say to that other than, not the half I'm looking at. That could be true, but the ones that we talk about mostly on this channel, most of those companies, Bitcoin does not have to be at $55,000 at the halving for them to anywhere from survive to thrive. So at lower numbers. Now, there are numbers that present a problem for some of these Bitcoin miners, and there's numbers that put some of them out of business. But this concept that it's got to be at 55 or 60,000, I would just say, do your own research and look into it. My numbers have not shown that at all to be the case.
You know what is interesting? I got a report on where you can put Bitcoin miners at this point in time, and you can still house them in New York.
Yeah, there's a bunch of the companies
Yeah.
that we look at that have Bitcoin miners in New York, and they put out all that legislation, and then one at a time it was like, oh, but these guys are exempt. A couple of people did get caught in that, but a lot of the people, they had exemptions or whatever you want to call it.
So Tom, so basically at the halving, those prices are just going to double. So if it's $9,000, it's going to be $18,000.
All things being equal. Now, if the network goes down significantly, then that won't be true. So if the Bitcoin network stays identical, the cost is going to double for all these Bitcoin miners at the halving. Yes. If Bitcoin's really low at that time, if Bitcoin's at $25,000 or $30,000 at that time, then it could very well be that the Bitcoin network, a lot of machines have to go offline and the Bitcoin network gets smaller, and that would counterbalance some of that, doubling. So it'll depend. Now, I will tell you, looking at all previous halvings, and that doesn't mean that's what's going to happen this time. Within 1 month of the Bitcoin halving, every single time it's ever happened, the Bitcoin network was larger than it was at the time of the halving. So there are a few times that for 2 or 3 weeks it pulled back, but within a month, it's always been larger than it was. So we'll see if that happens this time. Maybe the dynamic is going to be different this time. I don't know. And Edmund is saying, Tom, the first Wolf site was the New York hydropower, and the Pennsylvania nuclear just came online. So I had that backwards. Thank you, Edmund. Cosmic Contrarian, if Bitcoin's only 30K at the halving, many of these companies are in deep, deep trouble. So a lot of these smaller companies are in trouble at Bitcoin 30,000. I don't doubt that at all. But there's a big difference between 30,000 and 60,000. There's a lot of numbers in the middle where a lot of these companies are just fine. Obviously, they would all prefer 55 or 60,000.
I have a question. What percentage of your investment income would you put into Bitcoin right now? Just say you have $100,000 to invest.
What percentage of your portfolio?
Yeah.
Would you put into?
What would you do if you had $100,000? Let's say you had some Apple, some Tesla, some Marathon, some Riot. Would you take and put any of that money? You have no more extra money, just that 100,000.
So I'd have to get rid of something and move it into Bitcoin or the Bitcoin miners.
Okay. you pick. Okay, let's just say I'll use a real life scenario. I started at 300,000. I have 100,000 left. So what would I do? Should I just hunker down on the miners and wait on the Bitcoin miners? Or do you move any of that into the miner or into just Bitcoin?
You're saying, do you go out of Bitcoin? So I'll give you an answer to that question. For the first time ever today, take this for whatever it's worth. I bought some MicroStrategy today.
Whoa.
Yes. So, and I just did a video this week explaining, my viewpoints on MicroStrategy, laying out their business model, their debt structure, and everything else that goes on with MicroStrategy. It is, in my opinion, a smaller risk-reward equation than the Bitcoin miners. It's still a leveraged play in Bitcoin, in my opinion. So I think there's higher upside and downside. To put it in perspective, in the last 30 days, Bitcoin is up, not much, 1 or 2%, but MicroStrategy's down 17%. So to me, that represented a buying opportunity. And I have dollar cost averaged into the Bitcoin miners in a strong way for a long time. So to
So
answer
you
somebody
don't
else, go ahead,
you
George.
don't think it's important to buy Bitcoin and just to get it off of the exchange?
No, I do plan on buying Bitcoin directly as well.
Okay.
Yes. What I don't want to do, I would not, for me personally, and everybody's portfolio is in a different spot. I have heavily invested. I've made no bones about this. I've heavily invested in the Bitcoin miners. So I've taken the leverage to the downside. I'm not going to dump them still way down and take that money and put it into Bitcoin. I will take the leverage ride back up that I believe is going to happen for the Bitcoin miners that I'm invested in. Not across the board. It's not, I don't think they're all going to be winners, but I think for the winners, it's going to outpace it in the short term. Now, with new money that comes in, I would probably rather put new money into, I think, three things. I'd like to get into, I started in MicroStrategy. I'd like to get into the Bitcoin Grayscale and get into Bitcoin. And I'm even considering a scenario of, that the Grayscale Trust could be a vehicle for me to segue directly into Bitcoin. Let's just say that.
Oh, really? Are they doling out coins to you?
My concept is with some of that money, and I haven't bought any of it yet, but it's still at, what was it, at 20 or 25% discount? It might have even been 27% discount. If and when the ETF occurs, that discount is going to disappear. So whatever Bitcoin's doing, the Grayscale is probably going to get a leveraged, one time only, leveraged push to the upside. So I think it's worth having some money in that and taking advantage of that. That's kind of my theory on that. I'm not going all in. I'm not taking my money out of miners and putting it in there, but I think there's some room for that. Let's ask everybody else what they would do here. Just going to type up a poll.
This is, I think, that's really funny. Admin, I'm kind of doing the same thing. I've just been adding BTC and what's the other one? XLM? Yeah, XLM, yeah. Oh, I gotta leave. Probably, I gotta leave as soon as she comes back in. Birthday party for Pete. He is turning 55 today. Uh-oh.
Just going to tell everybody how old Pete is?
Yeah, I don't think anybody knows who Pete is, so.
I know who Pete is.
Yeah, be careful with Grayscale. Something seems quite off with their CEO and board. Smells scammy to me, but just my opinion.
Almost done typing this
OTC
poll.
with a $7 fee. Tom, just be aware that Grayscale is traded OTC with a $7 fee per trade.
I'm able to buy Grayscale. Oh, sorry. I'm thinking of MicroStrategy. So thank you. I have not bought any Grayscale yet, and I did not know that. A seven what? Dollar fee or
Yeah, per trade fee, yeah.
$7 per trade.
Sour, how do you know who Pete is?
How do I know who? Or somebody in the... Oh.
Yeah, Sour Melon Gang.
They're just being nice.
Oh, that's nice. Oh, I thought of what I was going to do. Since mainly I got a lot of conversation between me, Craig, Brad, and what's your friend's name at Cleanspark, Tom?
Isaac.
Isaac. And then there's a COO was there too, by the way, which was interesting. And it's just like no video though. It's just on this thing here. So what I'll do is I'll just put the audio up and with some pictures and the little tiny videos I have, and I'll put it up on the Discord channel. Well, then if you guys want to watch it, because we don't want to mess up the channel.
We don't want to mess with the algorithm.
Yeah, the channel's on fire. Here we go. I'm going to create a channel right now, and I'm going to call it Cleanspark. And I'll put it in there. Cleanspark is here.
His Honor said, all of a sudden Tom is looking to something other than the miners. What's the reason for this change? I will tell you, I've been talking all along that I want to buy Bitcoin directly. And I haven't taken any money out of the miners. And so I'll also let you know, I bought some MicroStrategy this week, and I did continue to add to the miners. I bought more. I couldn't resist. I bought a bunch more CleanSpark, and I bought some more Bitfarms. I talked on the live stream for the members only, and I held almost 2 weeks. I contained myself, but I couldn't let the weekend. I bought some more Bitfarms, and I bought some more CleanSpark. Those are my two that I believe are the most undervalued currently, and CleanSpark right now for me by far, I think is the #1 most undervalued. I think that Bitfarms I have a very high level of conviction in, but I think it's a higher risk reward. CleanSpark to me seems like a Grand Slam home run. So I did buy those 3 things, but I do want to get more direct access. And I think with Grayscale, and I did think with the trust, but we'll see if there's some fees there that, you know, change that equation on me. I'd like to segue those things into how I get into Bitcoin in part. I will also spend some money directly just by averaging into Bitcoin as well. So I don't know. I mean, I guess if you want, you can interpret that as a change, but I also continued to add to my Bitcoin mining positions this week as well. Just for everybody's, because I didn't mention that, so I should mention that. I try to let you guys know every time I average in. So that was today. I did not want to let the weekend and not get in. We're on the, and we might pull back, and you know, maybe, you know, I have more time, but I did take a couple of weeks off, which is the first time all year I didn't really dollar cost average into anything for a couple of weeks. And so I'm back. I added, we're at almost 100 likes, so if you are there and you haven't smashed the like button and you're willing to, it helps us a lot to get to 100 likes. It's greatly appreciated. So if you enjoy this content, please smash the like button. Just so that you know, every time I say smash the like button, somebody hits the dislike. So I keep going a little bit backwards, but others of you, 93 of you, now 94 have smashed the like.
I'm sorry, Tom.
Is that you?
I'm sorry, Tom. I'll stop doing that.
Are you allowed to do that more than once, or is it just a coincidence?
I do it. I just keep going. Positive, negative, positive, negative.
I do really appreciate everybody that does that. You don't know how much of a difference that makes in the algorithm, and I know that sounds like nonsense, and who cares? But particularly on our regular videos and the live stream, they don't show this live stream to people unless we have, you know, likes. That's a big part. That's the biggest piece of the algorithm I have determined. You know, so I don't, obviously their algorithm is proprietary, but in our experience on this channel, that has had the most direct impact on how much they share this with the world. So it's much appreciated, and we just reached 100 likes. So thank you very much, everybody. Round of applause to all of you guys.
You know what's funny? I just put a video up with Pete, and on my other channel, and you just cut that, watch that. You can see that's who Pete is. Pete's. I can't give him a free membership to the show because he's a working man. He's been an employee of mine for employee for the company for 10 years now. Isn't that crazy? Majority of our employees have stayed with us for over 10 years.
That's key. That's
Isn't it?
extremely hard to do in this environment.
See ya, Dr. J, Mr. J. You'll always be Dr. J to me.
FV702 said, yo. I don't know if you just joined the screen. Hello, Mokanut, and hello, His Honor. Hello, Duckman. Duckman, I will tell you, I am personally a little worried about Stronghold. I love what they do as a company. And if you want to talk about somebody that's actually environmentally friendly, I mean, they could be one of the most environmentally friendly companies in the world. And they do have some other pieces of their business that, you know, could survive without Bitcoin at all. But they are so cash flow negative that I'm worried about them.
Do you think we should reach out to them and try to figure out what their problem is, Tom? Or do you think it's just a lost cause?
No, I don't think it's a lost cause. I think all of the Stronghold type Bitcoin mining companies, which is the nano cap companies, I think they're much more Bitcoin price dependent. Because by the time you're a nano cap company, raising money through equity becomes a virtual impossibility. Right? Even if they were to double their market cap, it would not be a significant, you know, through dilution, it wouldn't be a significant amount of money. So those companies are now, we know nobody's taking on new debt. You can't raise equity if you're a nano cap company. So now you're really completely dependent on the Bitcoin getting to where it's going. I still think Bitcoin's getting where it's going, and if it does, and if it gets there sooner than later, then Stronghold could be very successful. But I think the risk continues to increase as time goes by with Stronghold. So while I love their company, and I think they'll, even if they don't survive as a publicly traded company, they, in my opinion, they will survive as a company in one form or the other, because what they do is needs to be done.
I can tell you one thing. I always have a rough time when there's a co-chairman, by the way. I'm looking at it right now, and it says there's a co-chairman with this. I guess this is a new guy in here called Gregory Beard. I wonder if that's the Beards I know. But anyway, and he says he's a co-chairman and CEO. So I have a rough time with that. That means there's not a captain of a ship, so to speak, and you know what I mean? And when you have people that are eccentric, I find, I don't think the guy minds that I call him eccentric. I'm sure he calls himself that. I think it's very hard for them to get into the mold of corporate America.
Yes, but some eccentric people are excelling, but it's definitely hit or miss, and you don't want any strike against you is any reason to give somebody pause to invest, it doesn't help.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. Salmon Gaming said, haven't added to miner shares for a couple of weeks. Got roughly 70 to 72K of free cash I'm going to dump in late next week. Which 2 or 3 miners would you go for if you were me? Obviously, Cleanspark is one of them. I know this sounds like I'm not answering a question, but a big part of this is, what do you already own? If you have full positions in some things, I wouldn't double down on my biggest position. But you guys know I like Cleanspark. I just added to Cleanspark and Bitfarms today, so clearly those are 2 that I'm adding to. And there's other ones. I have big positions. At some point, if Riot would pull back a little bit more, I might add to my position in Riot. At some point, if Cypher would pull back, I own no Cypher. I think Cypher is going to be one of the big winners ultimately, but I don't like him at this price. So I don't want to start buying in at this price. And sometimes that means you miss an opportunity altogether. I have a target price for a lot of these companies, and if they never reach that price, then to me, I never got my good buying opportunity. And, there's a lot of other stocks. So,
Tom, I have to apologize to you.
Okay, you don't have to, but if you want to.
No, I want to do it on stream too. I told everybody that Bitfarms was going to $1, It went to 101. I'm sorry.
I know. You were embarrassingly wrong on that, George. I wasn't going to say anything, but
Guys, I did it again.
I saw it get to $1 I'm like, don't do it. Don't you dare
Don't
get
do
to
it.
$1.
Don't let George be right. Please. Eric, Musk is eccentric, but Musk was not eccentric when he first started with his first two businesses. And then he became eccentric. I'm sure he was back then, but I think he hit it well. You know what I mean? And that guy's an animal. That's a guy who can work 20 hours, sleep 4, and come back for another 20.
Musk?
Yes.
What's the guy's name over at, come on, I'm forgetting his name. At Palantir, who's the CEO there? Somebody drop in the comments. I'm sure somebody here knows. He's a very eccentric individual. And that is a company that people have huge conviction in. And, you know, that's...
No, but my whole thing about being eccentric is this. If you listen, if you can find a way to be worth, you know, an extra 100 million or 200 million or whatever it is, like Musk, you can be whoever you want to be. You know what I mean? Because it doesn't matter.
Yeah, once you get to the finish line, and as the richest person on Earth, and that's probably not true, but on the list of richest people, he's considered the richest person on Earth. So I guess he's allowed to be. Let's check in on the poll. How would you spend your next Bitcoin investment money? So your next dollar, what would you buy?
Wow.
Overwhelmingly in first place, the Bitcoin miners at 54%. Well, that's encouraging.
Yeah, that
is. Here's one that surprises me, though. The Bitcoin Grayscale, 0%. And it's not like we got 11 votes. That's 62 votes, 0 votes for Bitcoin Grayscale. MicroStrategy got 19% and just buying Bitcoin straight up at 27%. So Bitcoin miners and then Bitcoin. Those are the two favorites. And Bitcoin miners by a mile in this group. Now, to be fair, this is not a random sampling of people. We are Bitcoin and Bitcoin miner people here, I think, for the most part. But I'm still surprised that there's that. I'm encouraged that there's still that level of conviction in the Bitcoin miners. I bought some today, so you guys know where I'm at on that. All right, that's two surprises. Number one, the Bitcoin miners won by a mile, and number two, the Bitcoin Grayscale got 0. So that is something that I've been considering buying, and there's nobody here that would buy that with their next dollar. So I'll put that into my equation. Nobody else is on that page, so I gotta at least take a second look and give a thought about that.
I can't believe not one person didn't vote for Bit.
I'm gonna end it.
Somebody's
just gonna do it just to do it. I'm gonna end it at 0 because that's the real number. Nope, it's over. Nobody voted for the Bitcoin Grayscale Trust. Let's see. Let me get back. I'm just switching my screens here for a minute to get back to... What else did I have? I had some other stuff
What else
went on
did I have
this
to talk about?
I'm just looking at my list of things. We talked about the shutdown at the very beginning of the show. If you weren't here, it would seem to be that there's a government shutdown that is imminent. We had a poll, and the results were 60% of the people think the U.S. government will have a shutdown this weekend. 40% remain optimistic that there's about 24 hours left for them to come to a deal. And it was 60-40 that it wasn't going to happen. I don't think it's a big deal either way. I did say, for whatever this is worth, I have a chart, and it's a bunch of squiggly lines is kind of what this ends up looking like. But just to show you guys, government shutdowns and the markets. Other than this shutdown in 2018, 2019, this dipped down. The market got down 4% very briefly. This is in number of days. So in the first 2 days, there was a little dip. By 4 days, the market was up. So you can see out of all these government shutdowns, none of them really had any impact on the market at all. You would think this feels like a big event. And in fact, the S&P rose almost 8%, it looks like, in the last shutdown that we had, even though the initial knee-jerk reaction was to the downside. So, if that happens again, maybe there's a little buying opportunity. We don't know. Just because that's what happened last time doesn't mean that's what will happen next time. But what this does seem to show is, for the most part, number one, these shutdowns are brief, right? There's only one that made it outside of 2 weeks. And number two, they just don't seem to affect the market at all. So there's a massive amount of noise around these, but from a market perspective, there seems to be very, very little impact that these have on the market.
Tom, I'm going to sneak out. It's probably a good time to go. I'll see you guys hopefully Tuesday.
All right, George.
If not, we'll see you next Friday.
Thanks you
everyone.
for joining us. Have a great weekend.
You too. See ya. Bye.
All right, that was George. All right, I'm probably going to wrap it up pretty soon as well. So let me just flip over and take a look at what Bitcoin is doing. All right, nope, that's not right. I got to go like that. Still learning the new buttons. Okay, so just to wrap up, a couple of things. I'm going to go to the... Well, let's start on the 15-minute, and then I want to go to the 1 day and just kind of wrap up. We're at 26,889. That is down a little bit from where we were when the market closed yesterday. So Bitcoin was down a little bit less than 1% today. The Bitcoin miners, if I go back to this list, they were mostly red. But what was the worst one? I mean, nothing big here. Greenidge was down 4.44%. TeraWolf was down 3.82%. Argo Blockchain 3.85%. But most of these were down, 1 or 2% on the day. Very, very small moves. A small Friday. And we had a green Thursday. So I do think this is going to be our first green week overall. I'll put those numbers together tonight. I will try to get that video up tomorrow to go through, all the everything that happened this week. But I think it was our first green week. A little pullback today. I just want to look at two things on the 1 day that I think are important. This was this line at $25,931. It's kind of, I'm going to call it blue. Some shade of blue. This is where we were on September 1st. This is where the month of September opened. So we do have one more day for Bitcoin to trade. Bitcoin is 24/7. But at the moment, Bitcoin's up about 3.5% on the month of September. There was a lot of fear coming into the month of September. September has been a not so kind month to Bitcoin in general. So I think we made it out from a Bitcoin standpoint just fine. The Bitcoin miners, you're going to see, even with this good week that we had, September was an awful month for the Bitcoin miners. We're 2.5 months into negative movement in the Bitcoin miners. I'm hoping this week is a green week. I'm hoping that breaks the trend. We did just close a daily candle above. So if I zoom out a little, you'll see there's a trend line that goes all the way back to July 13th. That was the day that we hit the 2023 high, and that was at around 31,862. So since that day, this has been a descending line of resistance that we have not been able to cross. Yesterday, we closed above that. It's possible that even on a red day today, and it's going to be super close, we may very well open and close above this line. But the only thing I would say is this is so unbelievably close that, this is not... Sorry, I got to get that off of the screen. This is not definitive in any way. So it's nice. I would have liked to see, a green candle versus just kind of ending up right here where it's so ambiguous. We're not sure if this is a move. And this is one of two moves I was hoping to see. a move above this line of resistance, and then a move above where we were on August 29th. So that is exactly 1 month ago today. We hit a local high of 28,181. So I think until we get above this line, step one, and then above this line, step two, I don't think those are the two things I believe need to happen to take a run back up to this, 31.8, just under 32 is the high for the year. I do think we're trading within a range. I don't think it's unrealistic to think that we could trade back towards the top of that range, if we see a couple of confirmations of a breakout, especially in October, which has historically been a positive month for Bitcoin. So, I take that with a grain of salt to a certain extent, but it has been a decent month, and we do seem to have some momentum. So that's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm hoping for. Hopefully, you guys we had 10 rough weeks for the Bitcoin miners. I know everybody here hung in there big time. So maybe we're about to move on to some better things. We'll see. So a special thanks to all of our members. Thank you very much for joining us on the live stream and for supporting the channel. And thanks to all the subscribers. Thanks to everybody who smashed the like button. We have 112 likes, so I appreciate that a lot. It does help the channel a lot. Everybody, please have a great weekend. Enjoy your weekend. And we'll see you in a video over the weekend. And then we have a members-only live stream Tuesdays after the market closes. So if you're a member, I will see you then. If not, every Friday, like this one right now, we have a live stream for everybody. So, hopefully we'll see you next Friday. And hopefully with some momentum here in Bitcoin. So we'll see what happens. Too soon to say we have momentum swing, but maybe by this time next week, we could be looking at some good price action in Bitcoin. So enjoy your weekend, everybody, and thanks again.